Hello, Ollie. Got your carburetors here ready to test. Cold start test. They have not been started for about a week, and I want to go over a few things in terms of installation. Before the carburetors are finally secured in place, have them slightly loose where they'll move around, and install the air log, which acts as a locator for the carburetors. Then tighten down the carburetors where they won't move. Pull the air log off, because there's enough movement in the carburetors that if you install them and just tighten them down, the air log will not fit. Next, when installing the fuel lines, always use a wrench on the inlet of the fuel filter, of the fuel inlet. Use a wrench, and then use your other wrench on the fuel inlet swivel. Always stabilize this fitting, in other words. Fuel filtration is critical to these carburetors. They do not like dirty fuel, and what will happen is, if you do get dirty fuel, typically it will clog the idle jet, the G55 idle jet right here. And when that happens, you won't have any idle, but you can start the car and rev it up, and it will run just fine, but then come back to idle and it dies. And that's the fault of the jet right here being clogged up. All you do is unscrew it. There's a little teeny tiny hole on the end of it. You blow that out and install it, and you're back ready to rock and roll. While we're here, idle mixture screws on the second barrel are blanked off and are not used. Just leave them alone. Idle mixture screw. This is the screw that you're going to use as the engine idles, fully warmed up, and are going to adjust these carburetors to your engine. And this is very minute movements that's going to take place right here, and I'll show you how that what happens there. Throttle linkage. Make sure all your ball ends on your throttle linkage are in good shape. Make sure these are not worn out, and the sockets that fit on them are in good shape, so that you don't have any slop anywhere. Another adjustment that you can make, or the mechanic can make, is this adjustment right here for the choke mechanism, for the choke levers. You've got your pull choke on the dash, and then you got like 3 feet of choke cable that comes down here, and the choke cable comes down here straight, down here like this, and then when you pull the choke, it pulls the levers up, and the levers want to go up in an arc. So while your cable's going straight up, and the levers are going in an arc, and it makes for a very tough pull. So I'll always recommend that you, let me put the camera back here. I always recommend that if you push on the gas, and then you pull up on the choke, and what that does is it makes it easier to pull the choke. Otherwise, if you're pulling the choke, you're also pulling on the throttle linkage. Notice how the throttle linkage moves, and that's an awful lot of resistance. But you can adjust the angle of dangle where these throttle levers, where the choke levers set, to meet with your cable coming straight down. That's what these adjustments are for right here. If you ever want to check to make sure your choke levers are doing what they're supposed to do, what you do is you pull up on your choke, and if you can flip your choke lever like that, and over here, they're in good shape. They're not stuck. Throttle linkage distance is very important, and I'll get you that information. Also, what we're going to be doing is using this engine analyzer, and what we're going to do here is I'm going to adjust the carburetors using the engine analyzer, and show you how the adjustments are made, and how to set the idle. Alright, so let's get ready to crank the engine. Also, we're going to use a synchrometer for synchronizing the carburetors, and the one that you want is the BK 1-1-35. Right out of the box, this is perfect for this job. So make sure we can see all these at the same time. Alright, we're on camera, good. What we're looking for is very little airflow through the second barrel, because the idle takes place just on the first barrel, and then we want to make sure the first barrels are synchronized, and what we're going to do is measure our airflow and get them synchronized. And we do that with the idle screw right here. So first thing you do is make sure you got fuel in the carburetors, and that's why you've got a, didn't mean to do that. Damn it. And I was going to go to the other side and pump up the fuel. Make sure we've got fuel in the carburetors, and that's why you've got a priming lever on the fuel pump. So let's do that right now. We're off the cam, so let's crank the engine and get it on the cam. Get the fuel pump on the cam. Here we go. And you can tell because you've got resistance on the fuel priming lever, and you can hear it squishing. And we're getting fuel into the carburetors. Okay, we got fuel. Oh, also while we're here, let's see, all the machine work that was done, all new throttle shafts, new butterflies, new throttle plates, new butterflies. The throttle bores in the carburetors, throat bores are machined, so they're now round. The throttle shafts are perpendicular with the bores and with the throttle plates, something that the factory didn't do. Their machining tolerances at the time were really poor. All the flat surfaces are machined as necessary. We've got helicoils in all the critical areas. New factory gaskets, which you can tell because they're red. And all the steel parts have been CAD plated as per original. So let's see what we can do in the way of starting these carburetors. Give it a couple of shots of fuel. Choke it. See what happens. Not bad for sitting for a week. Not bad for cold either. Now we have to get it warmed up before we can do any adjustments. You cannot adjust the engine, the carburetors when the engine's cold and the carburetors are cold. So get to fast idle manually. Water temp. Very smooth running carburetors. We got no hunting and no missing. Nice steady state. For the thermostat to open. Alright, thermostat just opened. Alright, double check we can see something here. Alright. First things first, you disconnect the throttle linkage so the carburetors are running independently of each other. See the difference in idle? That's because I don't have the linkage adjusted perfectly. That's one of the fun things with multiple carburetors, getting the linkage to adjust properly. First thing we're going to do, we're going to check to see we have minimal airflow coming out of the second barrel of each carburetor. You can see the needle just barely moved. The factory would run 2, 2.5, 3, and we can see how much better ours are running. That one didn't move at all. Now then we're going to check for airflow through the first barrel. You can see right at 6. I think you can see that. Alright, 6 there. Come over here. 6 there. Pull up on this, make sure. And 6, okay. And what we're going to do now is go over to the, and the way we get the uniform flow is simply using this screw right here. Just screw this in and out until you get the uniform flow that you want. Now let's go over here, and as I adjust the idle mixture screw, you're going to watch the RPM change. What we want is our best running RPM. Alright, we are looking at RPM scale right here. Currently we're on the high scale, reading about 600 RPM. We're going to go over to the low scale for better definition. So right now we're running 600 and change on the RPM. What we want to do is get our best RPM, best running RPM without the engine faltering, and you screw the idle mixture screw in and out until you get the best RPM, best running of the engine. So I'll screw it in, you'll see the RPM drop. Now we're losing our RPM. Now we're going to screw it back out. You hear the engine pick up. Went too far the other way, starting to falter. So we'll go back where we were. This takes a little bit of time. Don't rush the job. You see right there, that was on the first carburetor. Try the second. You see we're losing our RPM. Now we come back out the other way. Picking up our RPM. Engine's running better. Alright. Which is on the high scale so we don't max out the needle. Get my throttle adjusted. Alright, we snap the throttle linkage back on without any change in the RPM. Now let's do some take our low scale, put our low scale back on. Picked up some RPM there. Alright, let's come back here and check our readings. Once again, we disconnect our linkage. See how we're doing here? We're a little bit over 6, almost 7. Picked up some RPM with some airflow, a little bit over 7 right there. See the difference adjusting makes? We'll just double check our idle mixture screws. Okay, what we don't want is backfiring. We want it so lean that it backfires. That means we need to screw out our screws some more if that happens. Back to got our linkage back on. Turn and do a hot start. Got some real nice carburetors for you, Ali. Remember, final adjustment will be done to your engine with the idle mixture screws and getting the idle that you feel most comfortable with. Let's start up again, see what our idle is that I'm leaving you with while we're here. Low scale. Between 750, right around 750, which is what the factory specifies. So, leaving you with a good idle and excellent carburetors due to all the fine work by the machine shop. Thank you for your patience. I know it took a long time, but we appreciate your patience.